Today on the Topping Show, Rosie O'Donnell has left the United States thanks to Donald Trump. A preacher is threatened at gunpoint by a trans man in the streets. Trump has a transgender comment that also stirs controversy and goes viral. Nissan finally gets a new CEO. And Tesla's cybertruck, well, their hitch fails during a test. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT director or a business leader, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase. And yes, of course, it does come with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Nissan finally getting a new CEO, and he actually likes cars, which perhaps maybe someday in our lifetime, they will make a reliable vehicle. A tall order, some might say, but maybe. You never know. Crazier things have happened. Ford still exists. Now, this comes to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Jeff Perez, who's a writer over there. And they say, quote, Nissan's new CEO is a real car guy. That could be exactly what Nissan needs. Also, no more CVT transmissions in cars that, last more than 20,000 miles. But, all those things would be pretty nice. Now, they say, quote, Nissan's recent struggles are no secret. The company teeters on the verge of bankruptcy after a failed merger attempt with a fellow Japanese conglomerate, Honda, which, thank God, because, Honda makes reliable, fun, cool cars. Nissan makes none of those three things, especially since they killed the GTR. They make the 400Z or the Nissan Z, which is moderately fun, though thanks to dealer markups is kind of a rip-off after they add their market adjustment fee, also known as BS. Now, they continue to say, quote, now the company has appointed a new CEO in hopes of turning things around, and by all accounts, he's a real enthusiast like us. Even joined Nissan in 2003, working his way up to become vice president of global strategy and chief planning officer before taking over as CEO. Having spent more than 22 years at the brand, Mr. Espinosa is widely recognized by peers as a car guy, which he does have the cool pixelated based glasses in this particular picture, but there's a more kind of cliche corporate America picture where he did like all good men, always suit up, you look your best. Now, the outgoing CEO Makoto says, quote, Esposito is still in his 40s and full of energy. He's also a real car guy. Here you see the Nissan Z, which looks like they added blue to the options this year for 800 plus bucks. But still, you have the option now. Now they say, quote, having a real enthusiast at the helm is a good news from Nissan. Look at the different Toyota. The company Mr. Toyoda, he was at the head of the company for years, but then a couple of years ago, the shareholders kind of pushed him, so he became, out as CEO. Now he's in the head of the board of directors. But yeah, I still think he was the best leader in Toyota's, my life of being around for Toyota's history. Well, the Toyota family at Toyota. Now, they say, quote, the Nissan Z is one of the top performing vehicles, as well as the iconic GTR, which, again, is now discontinued. But if you're up to Espinosa, and especially now, Nissan would have an entire portfolio of performance cars. During an interview with Top Gear in 2024, Espinosa said that the Nissan needed an entry-level, possibly electric, I don't know about that, sports car alongside the Z and the GTR, which was still at sale at the time. His dream was to revive the Silva name, which was a thing way back in the day. It was that yellow car you saw in the first picture, and that would be nice. Again, the Nissan Z is a great car. I don't think it's a great price point. I think it's like $50,000 plus now for the Nissan Z, which, again, is a far cry from what they used to be in terms of the old Datsun, entry-level cars back in the day. And to me, at that price point, you just get a nice used Porsche, which would be infinitely more reliable. Granted, it's a Nissan, so the bar's pretty low, but be more reliable and a better track toy than, again, the Nissan Z, which, again, if the sticker price for the Nissan Z was like 35 grand, then you have a compelling reason to get it. Because again, that would get some people to think, I'm looking at this Honda Civic for $32,000, which again, I think that's still overpriced, but nevertheless, current Honda Civic Si is $32,000. For $3 to $4 grand more, you get a twin turbo V6 with a stick shift and it's a coupe. That's pretty nice. Again, Honda bastardized the Civic by making it only in a sedan these days, but I partially digress. Now, he says, quote, "It could be a challenge to revive the brand like Silva, but it's my job to find ways to do stuff like this because I think it'd be great for customers and the brand. And if I could put the right formula in place, we can make it work." Then they say, quote, "But first and most importantly, Espinosa's job will be to get Nissan back on track." Which he says, quote, "I sincerely believe that Nissan has so much more potential than what we're seeking today," which probably, again, the bar of performance is so low, I would assume they could do better. It'd be inconceivable for them not to. And he says, quote, "I'm looking forward to building on the efforts of those who have come before me," which, that's a very PC thing to do when you take over as a CEO of a company. In reality, I mean, if you were to actually address a giant 800-pound gorilla or panda in the room, or wait, what do they have in Japan? Wallace? Nevertheless, you'd probably say, yeah, we've messed up for decades. We had shitty, unreliable cars. The only thing that kept us around was Nissan Credit, which would give anyone with a car that has a modicum of a heartbeat. I mean, again, the Nissan Altima with the CVT transmission destroyed, in my opinion, what little reputation the brand had for reliability. It used to be like the entry-level Japanese car. I mean, you didn't have money for a Toyota, which historically has the best reliability, or maybe a Honda, but you can get a Nissan, which is slightly better than a Mitsubishi, which is only slightly better than, a rusted out old red wagon that I used to ride as a child. So, I mean, it did have its place. And they note that Ivan Espinosa officially takes over as Nissan CEO on April 1st, 2025, which, again, that's it shouldn't be a joke, but it's April 1st, so hopefully it's not a joke. And again, we'll see what we'll do to revive the brand. I do think entry-level cheap sports cars do help build the brand's reputation, especially in the enthusiast community. It's a low volume thing, especially these days. Even the iconic Ford Mustang is dropping in sales in terms of volume of units. It's a bore to think, but the actual Ford Mustang E-Mach is outselling the real Mustang. I also think it's because of high interest rates and a poor economy. People usually don't buy sports cars during those times. I think those are contributing factors. But again, the Nissan, what they really need to do is make a reliable vehicle. And that's the number one reason all of my friends and everyone I know, they fled the Nissan brand years ago. I mean, I'm trying to think if I know anyone who willingly drives a Nissan vehicle. No. It might be you always have that one weird friend. I do have a friend who has a Nissan Titan, which was a great discount from the competitors in terms of a full-size pickup truck. I think Nick is the only weird one, yeah. And it's a pretty good truck. But again, the truck is also a cult market. Like, breaking into that and getting real market share is so difficult against the, incumbents that have been there for, a century plus. So it'll be interesting to see what's the future of Nissan. But if I were to say, like, this is the one thing you need to focus on, it'd be, reliability. And yeah, get a fun sports car that's an aggressive price point. Something like the Toyota GR86, or I guess, the parent to that, or the sibling to that would be the Subaru BRZ. Same car, different pieces of plastic on the outside. Something that's, 30,000. I think that'd be a pretty good plan for Nissan to get a fun sports car out there. And again, just make reliable vehicles. But let me know, if you're the CEO of Nissan, what would you do to try to turn the brand around? And at this point, do you think it's even possible? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Prod podcast, you have Rosie O'Donnell left America thanks to Donald Trump. And some people say Trump can't work miracles. I mean, can't he? Rosie O'Donnell is gone. I mean, some might say it's a miracle in and of itself. Now, I do apologize. I want to give a visual disclaimer. We were about to put Rosie O'Donnell on the screen, which I was going to say perhaps that imagery is something, one of the rare things actually more viscerally disgusting or abhorrent than my face, some might argue. Now, again, visual warning, you're going to see Rosie O'Donnell, which she has not aged gracefully on the inside, and especially not on the outside. Now, this comes with thanks to Robbie Starbuck, in which he says, quote, "President Trump gets Rosie O'Donnell to self-deport. Promises made, promises kept." And there's Rosie O'Donnell, which, again, she's mostly ugly on the inside. Or as Trump would say, she's ugly on the inside as she is on the outside. Her personality is whack, as youth might say, completely abhorrent to anyone with a modicum of intelligence or civility. The woke mind virus got her years ago, and I broke her. Only Rosie O'Donnell. Which, in terms of Trump's pinnacle of comebacks, that only Rosie O'Donnell thing was really the turning point in his career when it comes to politics, and I think really put him on the map. And yeah, again, whoever is in charge of Rosie O'Donnell's wardrobe, in theory they exist, whoever chose those glasses for her are not doing her any favors. You do want to be unique. I appreciate unique, accoutrements or accessories, but sometimes it's not always good. And maybe this is a good example. Yeah, I don't know where she got those those glasses frames. I, I mean, shoot, I don't know anyone that actually could pull off those frames. But I partially digress. Maybe she'll give us articulate, very intelligent reasons of why she left, why Trump inspired her to leave. Obviously not, but let's hear what she has to say here.
And I'm here in Ireland, and it's beautiful and warm. Not physically, it's actually quite cold.
I was about to say.
Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming, and I'm very grateful. I'm in the process of getting my Irish citizenship, as I have Irish grandparents, and that's what's going on, and that's where I've been and what I've been doing. And although I was never someone who thought I would move to another country, that's what I decided would be the best for myself and my 12-year-old child. And here we are. Here we are. I miss my other kids. I miss my friends. I miss many things about life there at home. And I'm trying to find a home here in this beautiful country. And when, it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back.
She will be missed by 3 people, maybe. So Rosie O'Donnell's gone. I don't know how the world will act. I mean, how will we possibly go on without her? Oh, yes, quite easily. Now, one of the first comments, A+, Planet of the Memes did in fact respond with MMA. Planet of the Memes says, is that Keith Olbermann? There's a picture of Rosie O'Donnell. Oh, juxtaposition with a picture of Keith Olbermann. It says, quote, corporate needs you to find the difference between these pictures. They have Pam from The Office saying they're the same picture. Getting 71 likes, which, yeah, seems about right. We also have Raven Heaven asking Grok, did Rosie O'Donnell really move to Ireland? And Grok responded saying, who? Getting 26 likes. Which, poor guys in Ireland, now they have to deal with her. Ultra Grizzly Bear says, quote, dear Ireland, thank you. This is your friends, the USA. We want you to know that there will be no takebacks. She is yours, and we are sorry if you attempt to return her. There will be a massive tariff. Please, 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 just do us a solid. Keep her. Getting 80 likes. Yeah, Silva says, quote, funny how none of the people moved to Mexico or Brazil, Venezuela, etc. Getting 14 likes, which, yeah, for how many Hollywood celebrities praise communism and, see how great it is. Fascinatingly enough, no one ever actually moves there. Christine says, Rosie isn't avoiding Trump, she's avoiding justice. Getting 42 likes. She on those flight logs too, perhaps? Which, I mean, be a pretty hefty bill if she was on the flight logs. The amount of additional fuel needed to move her, because again, you increase the weight of the vehicle, lets the economy be quite significant. Louis Churchill says, quote, Trump was after her lucky charms, as simple as that. Now she can eat her lucky charms in peace on her magical island. Which, what else did she say in here?
Uh-oh, those kids are after me Lucky Charms.
Oh, someone just did a voiceover of her. Getting 2 likes. You also have Draxon saying, quote, I really hope her home out there is being squatted in by foreigners from Africa or the Middle East. Ireland is a country that has more rights than America. Yeah, right. Getting 6 likes. Steve Pauly also says, quote, she'll be comfortable in her gated community until the illegals overrun it and start controlling the country. Just watch how fast she jumps on a C-130 transport plane to haul her heavy ass back towards freedom. Getting 15 likes. So, I mean, to Rosie's credit, of all the people, all the Hollywood celebrities who said they would leave, she actually did leave. So, she's actually more of a man of her word than most celebrities. So, I do actually respect her in that regard. Again, I'm not sure what she's going to be doing in Ireland. I mean, what are they known for? Whiskey? EMC storage used to have some offices there. DeLorean, they used to make some stuff there too. So they used to make enterprise storage arrays for data centers and DeLorean automobiles. And I'm only partially kidding. Let me know in the comments, what is Ireland known for? And what's their major export? And would you ever want to visit there? What do you buy on a daily basis that's from Ireland? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have a preacher threatened at gunpoint by a trans individual for preaching in the streets. More from the tolerant left. Now, this comes with thanks to Lives at TikTok, in which she says, quote, "Holy shit, trans person pulls a gun on a street preacher for saying that God made men to be men and women to be women." Which, I mean, in a real just world, this individual will have been arrested, but, you know, odds are, no, they won't. Now, this is only 38 seconds long, but without too much further ado.
Harder, but you need to try less being like somebody you're not and start to humble yourself and be somebody that God made you to be.
I'm actually not squinting at or disapproving with my visual face. I'm not disapproving his message, but you have a preacher wearing a jacket? You're not suiting up? Come on, preacher. You don't have the cool collar? How are you? I mean, he does have the sunglasses on the back of his head. Come on now. You're preaching? I don't know, at least suit up. That's just me, though.
He didn't make a man to be a woman. He made the man to be a man. He didn't make the woman to be a man. He made the woman to be a woman. And this is the truth. What are you going to do? Come attack me now?
Oh, there you go. Obvious man dressed up as a woman. And that's a crime. They should be arrested. You know why? I mean, not only is there zero... I mean, it's ironic that leftists want to ban guns. Well, they want the government to have guns. But they always cry about, you know, gun safety. Oh, yeah. Which side shows the most gun safety and intelligence? It's not leftist. This individual pulled out a gun and pointed at him, which, man, that's a crime. In nearly every state in the United States, the classification of use of deadly force, again, not a lawyer, though I do own a suit, but use of deadly force is classified, if you just point a gun at someone, that is a threat, and that is use of deadly force by definition. Even more abhorrent from a safety perspective, this individual, this deranged madman, has his finger on the trigger, which, again, if you know, well, they should teach us in public schools, but public schools aren't good for much. If you know one of the major 4 rules of gun safety, there's not that many, there's just 4. Do not put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to fire. That is something you're taught day 1 in Boy Scouts, back when the Boy Scouts were named the Boy Scouts and actually taught things. But nevertheless, yeah, you're pointing at someone, which, yep, that's a crime. And again, the preacher, you might not agree with what he's saying, but he's certainly not harming you in any way or threatening you in any way. Again, if it's a stand your ground state, or a state that has a stand your ground policy, well, if someone is they have a knife and they're coming at you, then you're allowed to, you know, unholster your weapon and point it at them. But yeah, not in this case. This guy's literally just preaching on a microphone, which, again, he is a preacher, historically speaking, and A+ marketing, they do usually preach. It's usually what they do. So this person has their finger on the trigger, pointing at the individual, and of course, this definitely isn't a fashion show, but fashion speaking, rudimentary at best. It has those cliche those stupid sleeves that teenagers wear from Hot Topic, which I don't know if that's only supposed to cover up tattoos or something. But yeah, it's not gloves, so your fingers are still going to be cold, but it covers your wrist to your forearm. So in case if that part of your body or appendage gets really cold, it's handy in that case. Then yeah, long, girly hair, and yeah. It's about halfway through, but that's the most damning piece of evidence in terms of the screenshot. Because, and again, I'm definitely a gun enthusiast. I actually can't tell what kind of firearm it is. I'm guessing it's real, but like it's not a standard Glock or a Beretta or I don't even know what the heck it is.
Should. Hey man, that's up to you. If you. I should. Hey man.
Whoa.
I should. Hey man, that's up to you. If you want to pull that on me, well, God bless you. So you just threatened me with a gun. You just pulled a gun on my face. Man, Lord have mercy on you. This means that you don't even know who you are. Nope, I still love you. Even though you pulled a gun on me, I still love you. I still bless you. Harder.
He's a bigger man than most. I mean, the preacher, not the other one. The other one is wearing heels too, which again, you don't want to get in a fight with heels, tactically speaking, not the most intellectually smart thing to do. Kind of a disadvantage. And this went pretty darn viral. Got 2.4 million views and 52,000 likes. And again, if this was a civilized society, or if there was, you know, police around there that did their job, that individual who pulled the gun would be arrested immediately. And also probably a psych evaluation because you're clearly not sane. It is interesting enough, on a 4473, the paperwork to purchase a firearm in the United States, again, every purchase at a dealership, or more accurately, in terms of actual gun store and FFL, they're a federal firearm licensee holder. You have to fill out a 4473. Think of it as a job application to get a gun. There's actually a part that says, "Are you mentally sane?" You have to say yes. And there's another part that says, "Are you male, female, or non-binary?" Which some people would say those questions are kind of the antithesis of another, but kind of, you know what I'm saying? I don't think this person can accurately be said that they're sane if they're pulling a gun on someone who's not threatening you. Now, going to top comments, one of the first ones comes from, I'm a little biased, so it doesn't have the top number of likes, but he's especially handsome and brilliant. It's me, the Topping Show. I say, quote, "If someone on the right did that, they wouldn't be in jail in 20 seconds flat. Pointing a gun at someone in most states is classified as use of deadly force, but I bet this person will not be charged." Gain 1 like, which, again, not the most, but the most handsomest, some might argue. Not many, but some. American Logic says, quote, "This is more than just a stereotype. At this point, people have to admit that." Gaining 6.3 thousand likes. There's TikTok response saying it's an epidemic, gaining 3.2 thousand likes, which, yeah, it is kind of funny. Leftists always say, people on the right are so violent and evil. Yeah, when was the last time someone on the right did anything like this? Yeah, it doesn't happen. If it happened, you hear about 24/7 nonstop in CNN or MSNBC or in the mainstream, or as I like to call it, the lamestream media. Old School Eddie says, quote, "That preacher was badass," getting 2.5 thousand likes, which shoot, talk about keeping your composure. Someone points a gun at you, just keep preaching. He's got balls, so to say. Rob Coates says, quote, "Democrats will say words are violence and then turn right around and applaud that man pulling out his gun and getting 1.7 thousand likes." True. That is another bullet point to the DNC. They say that, they also say silence is violence, and they also say words are violence. Pretty much everything is violence that they don't like, in other words, simply put. Tactical Edge says, quote, "So much for tolerance, huh? Wild times we're living in," getting 557 likes. Yep. Let's see. Cool Christian Engineer says, "Trans violence is real violence," getting 25 likes. Planet of Memes, a little disappointed, no meme, says, quote, "Well, you never know what's going to happen," getting 15 likes. Andy Skilio says, quote, "God made man a man," and the tolerant left is, that guy pointing a gun at him, which, again, this is driving me crazy. Now, there's the morality of the situation and how abhorrent this idiot is, but what kind of pistol is that? It's almost looks like it has to be a revolver. I almost wonder if it's a prop gun. It is the profile. It's definitely not a Glock, which, again, that's by number of units sold, that's probably has to be the most popular gun in the United States with, so many millions of those out there. So it's not a Glock. Maybe Smith & Wesson revolver. Maybe the grip looks like a revolver. The angle makes it look like that. Yeah, let me know in the comments. What kind of firearm is that? What kind of pistol is that? I'm looking at it more and more. It looks like it's gotta be a pistol, or a revolver. And again, I know that's definitely not the most important part of this video or part of the segment, but just being a gun nut, that especially fascinates me. It's not a Chiappa Rhino, is it? No. Maybe a Chiappa? Maybe? Which, in terms of pop culture, I think the only movie that really brought that to fame is really Gerard Butler being a gamer, where that was one of the hero guns, the guns that, the main character used, in addition to the G36. Maybe it's a Chiappa Rhino, which, ADHD, that is a kind of fun pistol to shoot. Actually shoots from the bottom of the cylinder, not the top of the cylinder. The recoil a little bit easier to handle than a traditional revolver. If you ever are at the range, try it out. It's a unique thing. They also got 3,000 likes. Donna Marie has a picture compilation of 6 strange individuals who all committed great acts of evil with mass shootings, and they're all identified as trans, getting 401 likes. Let's see. Zayab Berry says, quote, "FBI San Francisco, this mentally unstable trans individual pulled a gun on this man for utilizing his free speech and must be arrested immediately," which, yes, legally speaking, definitely should. And they got some screenshots from the individual. Purple blonde hair. Again, big hair dye is, the whole economy is hurting. The companies that make hair dye and flags are doing great. I don't know where they're located. Usually China, as Trump would say. But, they're doing good. There's more and more options every day. Got 1,000 likes. So, again, if this was San Francisco, the odds of this crime actually being, actually being pursued and prosecuted, it's not 0%. But it's like maybe 0.00027%, give or take. And what is this? Reason number 9 billion not to live in San Francisco. But let me know in the comments, do you think this person will ever actually, be held to any consequence? And do you think, culturally kind of bleeding into politics, will Democrats ever, get away from the messaging of silence is violence and speech is violence to stop justifying abhorrent, disgusting acts like this? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, Donald Trump's comments about transgenderism stirring controversy and going viral. Now, this comes to us thanks to Benny Johnson on X, in which he says Trump is on fire. And it's about 20 seconds, but as Trump would probably say, the best 20 seconds in speech history, bar none. Sure, it's the worst Trump impression you heard all year, but perhaps that's an accolade in and of itself. Perhaps. But with all seriousness, this looks like to be credited to Fox News, which somehow is still in business, and they're on site recording this.
And they should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy. And they should not. And they're also
should. Will they? Probably not. Hopefully they do. And it's got about a couple 100,000 views and 15,000 likes. And yeah, I think Trump winning not just the electoral college, but also the popular vote. I think that was kind of a sign that most individuals aren't down with the culture or philosophy or the medical industry of transgenderism, especially when it comes around the children. That's the biggest point of contention that I've seen when I talk to peers and friends around the topic. And I think, hopefully everyone gets the mental help they need. I'm usually not a fan of too much, therapy and that kind of stuff, but it does, for everyone who's seen on this show, if you watch the whole segment or the whole show, not just a segment, you have someone who's trying to point a gun at someone just for saying that men are men and women are women. They obviously need some help. I'm of the philosophy that maybe it's a cliche thing to say, but just one friend can really make all the difference in the world. So hopefully they find that extra help. A lot of people are saying you should throw them in a padded room. That's controversy in and of itself. The U.S. hasn't done that in a couple of decades. In terms of having the massive volume of asylums. Reagan got rid of that years ago. Now, going to the top comments, one of the first ones comes from Chaotic Genius, saying, quote, "It's not normal, I'm sorry." And you have the top Democrats being, trans, leftist. And the person in the middle looks like the costume designer from The Incredibles. She has short, of course, purple hair and spectacles as thick as Lizzo and their green frame, which normally I love green. I love my green watch, my green car, but green glass frames is a little too far. And yeah, she looks bizarre. I believe she's a Democrat from Connecticut. Then you have Rachel Levine, the biological man who transitioned to be a woman, who's in charge of the United States Health and Human Services, which concerning in and of itself. I forget you had the bald man who was addicted to stealing women's clothes at the airport. He actually had access to the nuclear launch codes. Yeah, not normal for mass society, but for Democrats, yes. Well, the question is, will they actually reject that in the next couple of years to win an election? Or culturally speaking, will the majority of Americans shift to embrace that? It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm pretty skeptical, depending on what report you're looking at these days. A lot of people saying that the youth is more and more based than before, or also known as conservative. But obviously, I think more and more people will start to reject those types of things. In the comments, you also have Meme Master Samurai, which A+ they did in fact use in Mame. It's a good old image by Grok, and it has Trump as well as Elon dressed up as revolutionary warriors, or so American Revolution. They got the funny three-pointed hat. It says "Welcome to the Revolution," getting 8 likes. Scrolling down more and more, you have Florida 1 says, quote, "Will Democrats abandon transgender ideology and DEI next election? I wonder what the heck they're going to run on besides not Trump. They have 0, nothing." Getting 5 likes, which, yeah, Gavin Newsom is apparently starting to pedal back on some of the transgenderism stuff. They don't have a lot of heavy hitters or hot hitters in their party in terms of who do you think is a obvious next nominee? Who's a really strong, mental, articulate individual that could carry on their party? And what will they actually stand for at the end of the day? For decades now, they've been just saying, we're not Trump, which, again, that does get you millions of views and millions of votes. There are people who hate Trump viscerally, and they will vote for anyone except him. We saw it in the recent elections. Millions of people voted for Kamala. Actually, I don't think they voted for Kamala. They voted against Trump. I think that would probably be 50% of Kamala's votes is people who just voted for the party and against Trump. But yeah, what will they run on? And again, there are some businesses and cultures that are embracing DEI even more. I mean, Costco, their shareholders voted for DEI. Was it 97%? Granted, some of the biggest shareholders are BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which, again, they love those types of things. But again, 97% of all the shareholders of Costco said we want DEI. And there are a couple other businesses and people are leaning into it. I don't think that's a mass volume of people, so I don't think that's a viable way to win the next election. Can't speak today. But nevertheless, if you click that subscribe button, it might help my speaking abilities or lack thereof. When I first started the show, basically no one tuned in, but as I slowly got more subscribers, I slowly and surely become more and more articulate. Some might argue it's just a modicum improvement, but I would argue statistical improvement nevertheless. So if you can click that button and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And someday I will make it through an entire episode speaking perfectly articulately. Perhaps someday. A man can dream. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have the Tesla Cybertruck hitch failing in test. It is not looking good for the 18 folks who actually want to tow with the Tesla Cybertruck, which, again, it's an EV. It's not going to be able to tow great. Batteries are going to die nearly immediately, relatively speaking. So yeah, for towing, EVs are especially trash. Now, the only situation I can think of being better is if you're hauling something that weighs nothing, like Frito-Lay hauling chips. That might make sense. Now, this comes to us thanks to Inside EV, which is especially appropriately named since the picture shows you the inside of the Tesla because it broke open. Now, specifically, this article is credited to Julian, who's a writer over there, which she says, quote, Tesla Cybertruck tow hitch stress test results in catastrophic failure. He says, quote, if I see a Cybertruck towing on the freeway, I do not want to be anywhere close to that thing. And here you can see what remains of the rear end of a Cybertruck. And, jeez. Yeah, it looks like the rear entire, hitch and bumper just completely popped off. The metal part of the car is still there, the stainless steel part. But yeah, the entire bottom of the rear truck just gone and on the ground, which, yeah, not great if you want to put some weight on that. Now, he says, quote, you may remember last year's Jackass-style whistling diesel video where he puts a Tesla Cybertruck and Ford F-150 through a bunch of grueling stress tests. The main takeaway of the video was that the Cybertruck's tow hitch, together with a consistent chunk of cast aluminum frame, was ripped apart, raising questions about the electric truck's capability to tow the rated 11,000 pounds safely. Meanwhile, the gas-powered F-150 with a steel frame still had its tow hitch in place at the end of it all. Some pointed out that the rear of the frame might be broken when the tow hitch was hit with a big block of concrete and then sheared off after towing. The problem is that there's no way of knowing for sure, but there is now. Another YouTuber, Zach Nelson of Jerry Rig Everything fame, interesting profile name, put his own Cybertruck through a slightly more scientific test to see how the hitch fares in extreme conditions. They say, to quickly recap, the Tesla's electric pickup is rated up to 11,000 pounds, or for you funny foreigners, 4,990 kilograms, which, is that how you weigh? It sounds like a cereal. It's America. We use pounds, obviously. Not the money, the weight. But nevertheless, they say, quote, meanwhile, the maximum tongue weight, that's how much mass sits directly above the tow hitch, is capped at 1,100 pounds. Or again, for my international viewers, 499 kilograms. The tow hitch is attached to the cast aluminum frame. So what's the difference this time? Nelson used a heavy construction equipment to push down the Cybertruck's tow hitch. A crane scale was used to quantify how much weight was put on the tow hitch. At 10,000 pounds, or 4,525 kilograms, pushing down on the hitch, some creaking noises could be heard. Then at 10,400 pounds, the whole rear section of the subframe ripped off, putting an end to the stress test. Again, this is equivalent of an improperly balanced trailer with a massive amount of weight on the tongue. However, as Nelson points out, there are some situations where even a properly balanced trailer could transfer its whole weight to the tow hitch, such as big potholes at highway speeds. Which, yeah, that's not great. They say, quote, to make matters worse, some questionable building methods were revealed. For starters, the thickness of the cast aluminum frame was very thin, measuring between 3/16 and 1/8 of an inch thick. That's 3 to 4 millimeters, which is the only time we use measurements in America we're talking about pistol calibers, like a 9mm pistol. Nevertheless, 3 to 4 millimeters thick, which is good for vehicle weight, but not great for long-term strength. Furthermore, some selections seem to be held together with glue and rivets. Whoops. With the whole rear section of the car ripped apart, no fewer than 28 error codes appeared on the central infotainment system, and the EV would not move under its own power. Which, yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's part of the vehicle is just hanging off there on the side. They say by comparison, in 2004, Dodge Ram 2500 with prior damage was subjected to the same test, and its steel frame came out unscathed. The tow hitch was still in place after being subjected to 10,700 pounds, kept pushing it down, which, yeah, one of those things where if you want to buy a good old truck, it's sad to think of this, but now 2004, that's considered vintage. You want to get a vintage Cummins engine, ideally with a stick shift and 3 pedals like every vehicle should have by default. Now, unfortunately, because of supply and demand, and because they last so long and people know the quality, you're still going to spend $30,000 to $60,000 on that type of truck. But that's what you really want for towing. Now, again, in terms of apples to apples, a 2500 is usually a dually and bigger engine and everything. I mean, I would compare this more to the Dodge 1500 if you want to get more apples to apples. Again, I'm sure they share a lot of components and everything. But yeah, again, these are mostly pavement queens. And not a lot of these Cybertrucks are going to be used for anything in terms of actual work or towing. But again, Elon still claimed it's going to be magical. And it's still cool. It's bullet resistant. And it looks, I don't know. I'm one of those weird people who like how it looks. Granted, I'd have to do, a whole powertrain rip and replace so you can get 3 pedals in that thing and a gas engine. But I don't know. I kind of think it looks kind of neat. But the fact that it's not meeting the specs that Tesla and Elon, they themselves put out, gotta say, Tesla is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, if you do me a favor and leave a comment, additional feedback is always appreciated. Don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.